line is how thin the slices we're cutting with that deli slicer are. So we're cutting 30 nanometer thin slices, so they're 30 billionths of a meter thin. And then we collect them on tape. So basically we have miles of tape that are collecting these sections of this brain, and then we spool them up. Jeff's lab cuts them up and then put them on silicon wafers, and then we just have a catalog of this animal's brain. So every piece of their brain cut into 30 nanometer thin slices and then put onto these wafers. And then we image them in this, which is was at the time when it was built, the world's fastest electron microscope, which then images at 4 nanometer resolution and produces about 2 petabytes of data for a cubic millimeter of brain. So then we take all that data, almost 2 petabytes of data, and of all places, it then goes to 1 Summer Street above the Macy's in downtown Crossing in Boston. And the final resting place of this animal's brain then at Harvard is this. This is a 2 petabyte storage array. So this is a bunch of hard drives where stored remains of this animal's brain in digital form there. And then from there, IARPA wants us to deliver the brain up to the cloud. So this is a 40 gigabit per second Brocade switch to the Internet 2 infrastructure. So this is like the fast internet. And we upload that animal's brain to the cloud. You know, this idea of brain uploading is sort of captured a little bit of the sort of popular imagination. So, you know, Time and Focus and the magazines have started to sort of latch onto this issue. What if we could upload our brain? Maybe that's a path to immortality. You know, back in the 80s, William Gibson wrote a book called Neuromancer that sort of explored these themes of brain uploading. And, you know, there have been more recent works of art, you know, film that have explored this idea, like uploading the brain. This is interesting, too, because it interacts. I mean, some people are taking this idea so seriously that here's an example of a woman who recently was dying, had a terminal disease, and she decided that what she wanted to do was to preserve her brain in the hopes that people like us would figure out how to later upload her brain and reconstitute it. And using similar techniques to preserve her brain is what we use to preserve our rat's brain.
So the idea of a brain scanning would be to start with the brain, fixate it using various chemical techniques, slice it up thinly, scan each of these slices using advanced microscopy, reconstruct in a computer the three-dimensional structure where everything is and was, and then use various mathematical methods to turn that into a computer simulation of what would be going on in the brain. I believe that an uploaded person would actually be a person with consciousness, emotions, and we should give them human rights and treat them as real people.
Creating systems that have this kind of hierarchical neocortex, can reason like a human, deal with language like a human. But what we'll use them for is not some alien invasion of intelligent machines as if they came from Mars, but actually to enhance our own intelligence. I mean, this does make us smarter, and ultimately it's going to go inside our bodies and brains. And that's why we create these tools. That's what's unique about humans. We go beyond our limitations. We couldn't reach that higher fruit at that branch 1,000 years ago, so we invented a tool extending our reach. And then we leveraged our muscles to create the pyramids and great structures. Now we can access all of human knowledge with a few keystrokes, and ultimately we'll directly expand our intelligence.
The Brain Initiative, to sequence and map the entire human brain. I mean, think about it. We'll be able to understand what is schizophrenia, what is bipolar disorder, mental illness. That's going to be the short term. Even farther down the line is having a brain pacemaker for people with Alzheimer's disease. We are now understanding how memories are being formed, so why not create memories that are useful for people suffering from Alzheimer's? That's called the brain pacemaker, and the first memory was inserted into a mouse last year. That's how path-breaking and how fast this is moving. And think about this. If we have a memory stored on a disk with all your neural networks on it, and it will live after you die, meaning that just like in her, perhaps some of you will live forever. Your memories, your personality, your goals, your dreams will live in a computer. And perhaps your great-great-great-great-great-grandkids will have a conversation with you long after you're dead.
We now have the software of life, and we're also making exponential progress in being able to model it, simulate it, understand it, and reprogram it.
It's a very complicated process to consider what it might be like to upload the mind into a different type of system outside the body and outside the housing of the brain. But it's a tremendously wonderful field in that it pushes the limits of what we think we are and what we think we can become. So it's a wide open field of possibilities for not only each individual, but for civilization. I would like to